Welcome to the Journal of Biophilic Design podcast. Well, welcome. We're thrilled to be joined today by Lara Cowan, who's an award-winning property entrepreneur and strategist. In her spare time, she was studying horticulture and was volunteering for mental health and gardening charities in her spare time. But she's recently fully pivoted her career into nature therapy and is now a regular broadcaster on BBC Radio on the subject, talking about ways to access the power of nature. Along the way, she's also squeezed in developing a mindfulness coaching business with former monk and interfaith chaplain at Imperial College, Karuna Priya, and featured in the Financial Times, How to Spend It, and the Telegraph. But foremost, she says she is a single mum, big sister, mentor, and businesswoman recognized for her tenacity and drive. And I can second that, actually. She sets up her first property business, Grenadine Escape, selling land and villas in the West Indies when she was just 21, and her daughter was 2. And now, 20 years on, she's focusing on what her side hustle was, Botanic Shed. Lara, really, many thanks for joining us. I'm thrilled you can.
Thank you very much. So I'm thrilled to have been to have met you last year, and thank you for the lovely introduction. I must just say one thing, which is quite interesting and very relevant, that Botanic Shed has been sort of kicked off during the lockdown. Something else that happened during the lockdown is I met my match, so I'm no longer alone. And you know, something good came out of the lockdown, as well as a new decision to make the career change to full-time Botanic Shed. I'm not just a single mom anymore, so that's the good news for everyone. That's good news out of lockdown. Yay! But yes, Botanic Shed is it's basically me. I've decided to use all my energy, or what I can, to be a kind of teacher in terms of trying to teach people how to get the most out of nature. I've had quite a challenging road so far in business and family life, although there's been highlights. I just kind of thought, I've had nature, I think, as my antidepressant, and I want to then share that and give myself more of it during my life, as well as my close family and everyone else in the world. I'd like that to make it sort of a non-negotiable part of a daily routine, being in nature. And so we want it to become the leading language. We wake up and think, what am I doing? How am I integrating with nature today?
It's a lovely thing. Can you tell us a little bit more about Botanic Shed and exactly what your company is aiming to do? You know, the different strands that you...
Yeah. Well, the mission is making biophilia, which is love of biology, into the leading language. Like I said, I'd love people to wake up, every business to think about how they are looking after their people, and what their business is talking about how they're looking after nature. The sort of aim is to open a biophilic wellness centre. So it'll be a nature retreat in the woodland. Mm-hmm. And on the way, the way I'm going to do that is I'm doing woodland retreats. Awesome. I've got a lovely location out here in Berkshire at Wasing Estate, really stunning woodlands with lakes in and stuff. And they already do festivals there, which are very beautiful. And then I do one-to-one and group mentoring with some lovely clients already, which has been really lovely start to the year. And I'm writing a collection of books, one of which will be with you, or maybe one or more. And I am, I've become a little bit of a broadcaster, so I'll be sharing the knowledge on radio and podcasts and writing. So that's the plan, Yeah,
it sounds great. And what I've heard so far sounds really good. And I'll put the links on our website where this is hosted to the different broadcast outlets that you use. So I was actually going to ask you where your journey's been, because obviously you spent time abroad and things, but where was your, was it an early, experience in nature that's kind of inspired you to follow that?
Yeah. Dad moved us all out to a farmhouse, which was rambling and messy, and we just dug out the ponds, dug out the gardens. He gave me a vegetable garden. I remember growing my own nasturtiums and looking at his rhubarb going, oh my God, and his forcing pots, and then my granny bought me an amazing board game, which, I mean, I've always looked for it, but I can't find it again. Really beautifully painted thing that you can slot cards in and plant your own garden.
Oh wow.
She was also really instrumental in sort of making me love the outdoors, I think. I just love mud, really. I was speaking to my friend Yonadav the other day, who's also a former monk, and he said, I was literally the mud boy when I was younger. I was like, yes, go back to it, let's get back to our inner child and whatever. So I did a lot of outdoor stuff. I always wanted to have my coat on. And then I've had, when I went to the Caribbean, I literally just got stuck to it. The strength and the power of nature there was amazing. I ended up staying there, but I worked on a farm there, flower farm and a vegetable farm and banana plantation, which was incredible. And then I did some gardening. I did a horticulture diploma on the side, and I did some gardening with gardens and stuff. And I just thought, yeah, I need to be outside, but I'm a bit got a bit of a bad back. So I was a little bit put off the actual gardening job. And I think I've just been leaning towards being with people, as well as, you could plan planting schemes, things like that, which is nice and creative. But I think I'm much more keen on helping people through accessing nature and gardening in their daily lives. Yeah.
No, it sounds.
Also I've had very, very strong experiences to connect, why it's good for you. My own experiences I've been through some pretty stressful things. My dad had dementia for several, nearly a decade really, and we watched him deteriorate, but also stay hanging on through his connection to nature. And he was outdoors whenever he could be. He was out in the woods piling up twigs into little piles of this one small pile of this long twigs, and it was literally like a special clever bird had been at work outside. And we'd get to winter and worry about how he was going to be, because he wouldn't be able to go outside so much, because he wasn't so much of an all-weather man as I am. I'll go out in anything, but he wouldn't. So, and then my brother has also been very ill, and that was really when Johnny and my dad and I worked together. We're in the garden. I used to do different things, and I thought, God, I'm feeling so much better. I can see you both lighting up. And I just thought, there's something in this. So I actually volunteered for a mental health charity that uses gardens to get people back in to mainstream after being in hospital.
From what I know about you and what I've heard about you as well from friends who are mutual friends, you're going to make an amazing success of Botanic Shed, and I really wish you well with it. I think it's going to be a fantastic haven, virtual and in person as well. So I look forward to following your journey and supporting where I can too. But and when people mention the Caribbean, obviously you spent a lot, time out there, and as you say, there was the pull to go back and be on the yachts and that thing. But obviously the nature side of it, and people talk of the blue mind and that human ocean connection. Yeah. I mean, you found that resonated with you too, and so what way was that?
Massively, I think. I mean, that people talk about getting to this island of Bequia, and the topography of it is so powerful that after 12 hours, you're just like, I mean, there's an underground volcano system anyway there, which is done, but just the way the islands are set, and the sea is so vast. And safe, the safe havens, sort of the shapes of the harbours. I don't know, something about the whole thing. It kind of rests the body. But I had a really amazing moment on a boat once, where I felt what I think is Reiki, like the energy from the sea, not touching your feet, but just washing over you. Because every time the waves, were just bumping up, I felt it come. I was like, this is amazing, yeah. So, and I used to sit on the rocks, just feeling, I lived on the East Coast in a very wild area on St. Vincent, up near, quite close to Georgetown, if anyone's ever gone there, near the volcano. And the sea is so rough, but sitting on rocks out there, it's just crashing. It's all you can hear. It was such loud noise. It was really therapeutic. And I'd lost my granny. We'd had some turmoil at home. I'd had a long time just hanging on at school, and I just thought this time was just really cleansing and amazing. It was lovely.
Yeah.
And obviously, you're completely surrounded by all the chemicals and all the effects that nature has on you, because there's not many buildings along that East Coast. So it was amazing.
Yeah, so you're completely submerged in nature, sort of like it's all around you and things. I mean, one of the things obviously with biophilia, when people think about biophilia, they often just think of plants. They just think it's just that sort of thing. But there's all the there's the
It's
sound,
biology.
the
Yeah.
smell, yeah, the whole this thing that has sort of effect on our, you know, neural system, yeah, on our, and then it affects our brains. It's a real physical and emotional and mental, and yeah, so all the almost the electronics within our body are kind of fired
Yeah,
up
exactly.
when they're stimulated by nature, and it's where we
Yeah.
should be. You know, it's our sort of primitive self, you know, and we shut ourselves away in boxes and little tiny things, which, you know, I mean, even big things, but they might not have any kind of nature connections at all, or colors of nature or natural materials, and that's when people get sick, isn't it? You know, it's when people, you know,
It's not right now. I think our connection to nature as intrinsically important to life and vitality as diet and exercise. And this is where somewhere like Japan is already, you know, fully on board with it. I mean, Japan has got a terrible situation in Tokyo where everyone is crammed in, and so they needed it. They've been pushed to the edge, but they have like actual systems where you can go to hospital and get prescribed time in nature. I mean, it's starting to happen here, but it is really, really important. And what I would like to say to people as well is, like, when you're going outdoors, this is the change in mindset. You're not just going outdoors. You're literally like you said, you're chemically reacting. And you're biologically reacting. You are stimulating like happy hormones in your body when you're outside. So you could go outside and storm around and think I've got to listen to this podcast to, you know, get clever, or I've got to do this because I've got to be always active, or just you know, not being able to quiet your mind. But you know, if you go outdoors, don't just go outdoors. Just go outdoors and think, what's my job here? Should I get down close to the soil to activate some stuff going on in my body there, or what shall I do to actually respect myself and respect nature and get the benefits from it?
Yeah. So leading on from that, I mean, obviously everybody's locked in. Everybody can't, you know, at the moment we've been sort of prescribed by the government to stay indoors and not go out and not do this and not communicate and not do anything. But we can go out and exercise. You know, we can go and do a little bit of something. So I mean, obviously nature sort of, you know, nature heals us. So how would you like to see people engaging in nature more? I mean, what can they do during the sort of general restricted movements that many of us are facing during this sort of corona outbreak? What would you prescribe people to do? You know, so this is a Botanic Shed prescription.
Yeah.
To actually go out and, you know, what should they do, like even once a day? What would you advise them to do?
Well, first off, I would say non-negotiable, step outside, you know, in the first thing in the morning. If you can't do that, I would say you really need to have a non-negotiable, if you can do it, an hour engaging in nature. You know, look, if you don't want to go outside, you could just sit at the window with a little bit of the window open and just look outside and give yourself some time, maybe half an hour doing that, and then half an hour walking outside. I would say if you can do this, it will really have a good effect on your life, because if you can think of your day and you're just dealing with this person, that problem, this thing, not eating probably well enough that you think, but if you can squeeze in an hour of just being outside or looking outside, that would be the best thing. And I think I do this every day, but I always go outside first thing before I work, even if it's like 5 minutes. So that's one thing. The other thing is that if you can't go outside, as I said, you can look out the window. You might be thinking, oh God, what am I doing? Especially if you can only see a building. There are benefits, proven benefits, to looking at plants indoors, even if it is an indoor plant, because the shapes of plants are, you know, a natural phenomenon, and they are, we're genetically programmed to align ourselves with the beauty of nature. So even if it isn't real, even if it's a picture or if it's a fake plant, just even if you want to spend 5 minutes looking at your fake plant, just seeing how do these leaves connect onto that branch, because otherwise you're just looking at it going, oh, there it is, you know. But there's actually, you know, if you thought of yourself, if you were a baby, you'd really look into that and look at where are the leaves joining on it, and which leaves are bigger and why, and the magic of leaves, of these fractals that they have on them, because the patterns on them are, I mean, it actually feeds into the amazing work you're doing in bringing nature indoors by, you know, looking at leaf fractals actually stimulates the same part of our brain that makes us happy, that music does.
Yeah.
It's incredible. This is a
Yeah.
mathematical phenomenon of nature. So that's my prescription, is looking at things indoors that you have, but you need to give yourself, you know, I don't want to say minimum half an hour. I'd like to say the non-negotiable 1 hour for nature, you know, connection, one way or another.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
water and sleep. That's the most. My mum always says, you know, without water and sleep, no plants can survive, and you know, you can't survive, because I like to say, you know, you're a plant, you're a delicate thing, and don't drown yourself. Don't give yourself a drought. So I think you do need water and sleep, more importantly, and then the nature outside.
That's really, I like that thought, actually. Yeah, so don't drown yourself, but don't give yourself drought either. You know, it's like true. That's a very nice thing. Actually. We are little plants, so we should nurture ourselves as well as people around us and things. So I mean, what sort of, I mean, maybe just like 4 issues you think that nature can help with? I mean, what sort of some of the key things that nature can really help with, you know, people are kind of undergoing?
Well, some things that might feel really relevant. I mean, there's a massive list of things, but anxiety, you know, it can hugely help, because it can decrease the amount of cortisol in your body, being outside near trees. I mean, I can go into the details, but if it's anxiety, I'd say loneliness can be combated, loss of control of your mood, you know, loss of temper, that can be reduced. You know, the effects of menopause, and it can help you lower your pain threshold. I think that those ones are really quite key and relevant. And lots of people are living in pain, whether it's because of their back, because of how they're working, or because they're actually going through, how many of us, what are the statistics on cancer and all these, you know, very serious things that we don't have an amazing cure for yet. I think knowing that there's these ways to deal with pain, not just physical pain, but, you know, like emotional pain, it's huge.
Yeah. Did you want to expand a little bit on those? Or, you know, on
well, I can give you a couple of ways to try to access. So one of them is, I just did a recording on the radio on Sunday called How Dirt Makes You Happy, and I thought, well, the connotations of that are quite silly, but it's really about get down and close to soil, because soil can make you happy. And soil has microorganisms in it called Mycobacterium vacci, and they are negative ions, and they stimulate the production of serotonin in our bodies. And we know what serotonin does. It makes us feel happy. So literally smelling soil or being close to it will give you small doses of serotonin, and obviously being closer to it in warmer weather, it's the higher doses. But you're not going to go and get blown away and go, oh God, I just feel like I'm complete. but regular doses will help you combat, you know, your quick triggers to feeling stressed or your generally low mood. And now is a really good time to access that, because we've got to go and get the soil ready, if we can, anywhere. To, you know, you can turn it over, get rid of the weeds, compost it, and fertilize it. This is the sort of soil admin time of year, but you can do it all year long. So soil is I think that's the magic one. Really good. No wonder I loved mud. And looking at exactly. The other ones are watching birds fly across the sky, or eating the bird table or anything, because that one's a good one as well, because watching birds and watching something beautiful creates a sense of awe, and awe also creates happy hormones in our body. So that's fantastic. Just watch them at home. That's why watching Blue Planet or switching on to the network Water Bear on Netflix will help you, because you'll be just going, that, you know, full of awe, full of happy hormones. So it really does work. Being near the sound of water. I love this one, because you can just either get in the bath and run the bath, or just sit next to the bath and go, turn the tap on and just listen to it. That really does work as well. It's like a break for the mind. It decreases our cortisol production. And then I think, no, thank you. I just got offered a cup of tea. what else is there? Well, going into forests is incredible. You know, they've got trees give off chemicals which they use in the air. That's their, you know, like we have telephones working, or we wire money. It's like magic. Well, got their own magic because they've got the chemicals that are in the air between them. That's their communication system, and they're called phytosates, and they help us create happy hormones as well. And this all protects our immune system and builds up. You know, it doesn't just help with our stabilizing our mood, it helps strengthen our immune system and make us stronger. You know, help us, you know, if your kids keep coming back when they're allowed to school with sniffly noses and colds and stuff, you don't want that to affect your day and week. If you've got a strong immune system, you'll fight that off. I mean, there's lots of things wrong with with me and other things that I do, and I easily get stressed, but I don't get ill, literally. Because I think it's because I touch wood. I mean, I do get ill.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
You know, I got a fever the other night, which I was really worried about, and it just went away and I wonder whether that is because I spend so much time outdoors. I've got a strong immune system.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, really touch wood, I do get ill, but I just don't get very regularly ill. So I just think there's actual scientific proof. If you want to go away and look things up, you know, blood tests on people before and after they go out on forest walks, they show that there's a massive increase in health protective factors in our blood stream after our forest walks. So, and these health protective factors are serious. They're anti-diabetic, anti-obesity. They support our cardiovascular system. Diabetes and the treatment of diabetes through forest walking or the support of it is really close to my heart, because my poor 5-year-old uncle, that would be weird, my 5-year-old nephew, who's called Freddie, and he's an amazing boy, has just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which means he has 12 injections a day. He doesn't have any of his own production of insulin. So he is so vulnerable now, you know. Diabetes is just absolutely awful disease, really, because you're literally on a knife. You know, if you didn't get insulin, you would die. It's awful. There's a story my sister showed me, is about all these children were in this ward when they were all passed out in diabetic comas, and then when they all were injected with insulin, they all came alive again. That's how awful it is. He doesn't have that, but you can control your immune system, and you can support yourself, and when you have diabetes, by giving yourself this kind of strength from the outdoors and going forest bathing. I think forest bathing is a massive one. And if I can say one last one, I know that's a lot of them. I have been a lover of wild swimming.
Okay.
So some of the Thames near where my mum lives. Now I swim in the Wasing Lake. 1 degree it was last time I went in. And that is, I can literally, I mean, the other day I went in, my heart was really stressed out, and as I just swam, it just went, you know, quicker than any meditation or any trying to walk away and calm down. It just went, I was like, oh, this is amazing. And it also just makes you feel incredible for the rest of the day.
Yeah. But
not everyone can get near a lake. But when you are near a lake, if you are on an outing, and you just think, I've only got today, this is 24 hours, is precious. Not only precious to have fun, but precious to do something good for your health. So I'd jump in if I were you. I'm not alone. Be careful of what you're jumping into, but yeah.
Thanks. Actually, I've got a friend who does ice swimming. He was swimming for Team GB, and so I followed his journey, and he ended up sort of swimming across the channel and things. But yeah, same thing. You kind of had all those benefits of actually swimming in cold water, you know. I'm not sure if that's for me, but I might go for a paddle though, so I don't
I know it's really hard, and if I put my toes in, I wouldn't have gone in, but I just throw myself in. But if we can actually think, well, and actually, you know, it's scientifically proven that staying in cold water increases your happy hormones. So if you, I mean, like, sometimes I just don't feel very good, and I'm just like, why can't I just be feeling good all the time, you know? And I'm like, now, you know, and I know there is ways to feel better.
Yeah.
It's not just like you're not just prescribed to be low. I don't think, I think there's a spectrum on the mental health thing. I know I was listening to Ruby Wax the other night, and she said something differently, but she also uses mindfulness meditation a lot. I think that we are all just on a line, and we just need to go, we need to use things like our natural surroundings and our own chemistry to look after our mood, and stay happy more often.
Staying
healthy.
Yeah. How would you obviously, you know, sort of talk about being outside and that, but like you have touched on just earlier about if you can't get outside, I mean, how do you see, because we have a lot of interior designers and architects listen to this, and obviously you've worked in property, so you've probably seen it yourself, how some interiors help sell things probably easier than better than others or whatever, but how do you see biophilic design, and how do you see elements of nature or nature being replicated inside? How do you see that benefiting, or how can it be used inside interiors for the benefit of us?
Well, well, it's undoubtedly a huge benefit. As like the old, you know, I think it was in the 80s that Roger Ulrich did his research on the benefits of seeing outdoors in the speediness of recovery of patients in hospital. The same thing, if you can see outdoors and you're at home, and you often get depression or anxiety or tired or any other illness that can be made slightly better by having a better balance of happy hormones and positive hormones in your blood, I think is obviously key. So natural light is just obviously of utmost importance. But also just looking at elements of nature indoors, I think, is really, really important. And properties aren't going to sell nowadays that are dark and dingy, because there's a connection here with longevity of life and quality of life. So who if they were able to, would choose a house that was going to give them a rubbish quality of life and make it shorter, versus someone's home who has been thought out. And many architects now integrate the outdoors into their designs, to bring green walls in. I mean, one of my friends, Amos, I've introduced you to, he said he had 3 clients. You know, it was the man, the wife, and the plants, because the plants really need, and they were like, no, the plants need this. You know, so yeah, phenomenally important for the good of mankind and of the world, because the better we are, the better equipped we are to look after our the people around us and the planet around us.
We spoke, I mean, thanks for introduction to Amos. I was going to say, you and I have spoken before about, obviously, because I people listening to this may or may not, if they're new people, they might not know, but I'm a photographer as well, and a sort of video maker and blah blah. But I shoot pictures of
blah blah blah. You're absolutely phenomenal. Photo A. I think hopefully you're going to say all that.
Thank you. Lights under bushels and all that, or whatever it is. I'm not sure what it is, but anyway. But I obviously I love being outside in nature, and I'm really inspired by it. And when I was 16, I started shooting landscapes and started selling them. That's how come, I've just got an affinity with it. I just love that. I used to go off with my dog and take my camera, and would go on the beach in St Ives, we'd have some holiday down there, and I'd just be away. My mother would be up one end writing, she'd be writing novels or her stories or murders or whatever it was, and I'd be down the other end with my camera and the dog. And so I've obviously I've been, I now print on aluminium, and I print canvases, I print on acoustic panels, landscapes of nature. We do massive large scale wall vinyls so that people can immerse themselves in nature. Really great in offices and leisure facilities and all that sort of stuff. Obviously you touched on Roger Ulrich's study in the 80s, where views of nature are really important. I mean, what do you think, you personally, are the benefits of bringing virtual nature in? I mean, we spoke about potentially collaborating with in a different in a hotel space, or
we'll put the hotel rooms slowly into a biophilic kind of setup. I would like I'm trying to this wall is, and my room is sort of full with nature kind of objects and stuff, because it's proven as well that the more that a home feels like it's got natural elements to it, the more comfortable the inhabitants of the home are, and the less stress that they symptoms they exhibit. So it's, yeah, I think it's absolutely crucial. And I saw your work. I don't know how, it must have been a few years ago, because I've saved one of the images in my folder, because as I said, I set up Botanic Shed as a blog years ago. And then you just got a really beautiful work, and I just immediately thought, well, we're going to create do the retreats this year, and hopefully for time to come run woodland retreats. They've also got a hotel there anyways, and yeah, they were straight on it when I said let's because I do like, as you know, styling and stuff as well, so I said let's restyle some of the rooms. And I think impeccably important, because if they're on a if they've dedicated or invested, you know, to put their time into coming on a retreat to help them change their mindset and make them better, not just during the retreat, but, you know, chemically and physically, they will be better for several days afterwards, up to 30 days after woodland bathing and being of the right mindset. But, you know, if they can start it off by being in a room, in the hotel, for example, that just extends the experience, because they go back indoors and their room is still the forest experience. Now, if the whole of our whole lives are, you know, we go into they go home, and they've got that at home, and that is just going to extend their benefits enormously. I often think, why are we looking at a plain white roof? And it's what we look at for like many hours of the day. So I think roof ceiling art is what we will be putting up as well. Obviously, people who were lucky enough to have millions and millions of riches and stuff, yeah, you go into palaces and you see the ceilings are absolutely stunning and they have beautiful geometric patterns, but why can't we? Even little ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We install clouds on ceilings as well, so it's it's really nice. You know, kind of, you know, like you've got like a little portal looking up. You know, you sort of make a round shape, and it's like you've got like a one of these nice places. It's a really final question.
You're doing a very important job.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna say, if you could, sort of final question really is a kind of, if you could brush the world, you know, if you could sort of coat the world with a brush of biophilia, what would it look like? How would people be? What would it look like?
Well, my brush, I hope that I start to, or trigger and leave a bit of an imprint on, is changing the language, the way that we think about nature and that we talk about it. So as a broad brush, it would be that every single person does understand the value of looking after the planet. I don't want to name any names, but I've got an essay that I started, I didn't finish it, but it was to write to one of my family members to prove that there was such a thing as climate change. I was like, so yeah, for everyone to understand this, you know, like non-negotiable importance and connection in our connection to nature. Yes. Visually, all I'm seeing is like cherry trees, and that scene that Robin Williams is in, and I don't know what the film is, and then he's sort of, it's all painted and he's in that beautiful lake, and there's loads of reflections over. I see reflections of trees into water, and that would be the brushstroke I'd like to give to people's lives, just a beautiful load of water reflecting leaves and trees.
Really nice.
But what about you? What would your brushstroke, your biophilic brushstroke be?
Oh, obliged. I don't know, actually. Thank you for asking me. I've never it would be there'd be plants in the house. Everybody would have plants in the house. It would have lots of natural light. There'd be, you know, the facility to have like a little waterfall next to you, you know, so you could hear water. When I spoke to Sally Augustin, the environmental psychologist, she said about the importance of having sort of soft moving things around you. So I'm talking about interiors only at the moment. But, you know, you'd have all these different elements that would sort of stimulate your like your happy gene, your happy gene, your happiness inside, you know, your happy vibe. And and good acoustics as well is really important. But yeah, everybody would be able to live in like a live in, live out kind of space where you have your kind of cozy hygge environment, and then you can, you know, push the doors back, and then you can have this beautiful scene of nature. And I'd love that for everybody. I'd love that to have everybody have like a gardening space, and they can nurture plants and food, and you know, it's maybe a community space, but there's, you know, that whole connection, that inherent connection is just made easy for everybody, really.
Yeah.
So that we can commune with everybody. So yeah.
I love what you said about the acoustic things, because I know we're coming to an end of the interview, but what we haven't mentioned is, you know, sound. Although I mentioned the sound of water, but sound is just incredibly important, and also animals. But sound, I just want to say one thing on sound, is that sound can heal, that sound can torment as well. And there is such a thing. My daughter reminded me, because she's doing a piece on her degree on sound. Sound is used as a torture mechanism, you know, so it's awful. You know, that's how integral it is to our being and our sense of being. It can break us and it can make us. So sound is incredibly important. And then animals, I'm absolutely mad on spending time with natural horses and dogs and stuff. So, and they are incredibly important, but that's a whole other angle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I forgot the cats and dogs and chickens.
We will have horse therapy as well.
Okay.
And anyway, I can help people access horse therapy now, but yes, there's so much for everyone. And I wish that everyone can have an easier and happier life, and especially than we are at the moment.
Thank you for listening to the Journal of Biophilic Design podcast.